My name is Lila Weston. I'm 17 years old and I live in the quiet town of Silver Springs. What I'm about to share with you isn't just a story, it's a warning, a glimpse into something far beyond this world. It all happened on a cold night, October 29th, 2024. One moment, I was walking home after a school event, my mind filled with the usual teenage worries. The next, I was staring at my own lifeless body from above. What happened in those moments after I died shook me to my very soul. And where I went. It's not what anyone expects. Before we begin, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. If you love Jesus as much as we do, please subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss inspiring content like this. Now, let me take you through a journey beyond life itself. A journey to where souls go after death. It was a regular evening. Nothing out of the ordinary. I was walking home after spending time with friends, the autumn leaves crunching beneath my feet. The air was crisp, and the distant sound of wind rushing through the trees created an eerie calm. But then, out of nowhere, headlights blinded me. I didn't have time to react before I felt the brutal impact, the cold metal against my body, and then a deafening silence. In those fleeting moments, I felt every ounce of pain. But then something strange happened. A sudden weightlessness overtook me, like I was being lifted out of my own skin. I looked down and saw myself lying there, broken and still. The shock was paralyzing. But what truly terrified me wasn't the sight of my lifeless body. It was the realization that I was still fully aware. My surroundings began to fade, and I felt myself being drawn into an endless tunnel of light and shadow. A powerful force beyond anything I could describe was pulling me towards something unknown. The moment I felt my heart stop, I knew this wasn't the end, but the beginning of something I wasn't ready for. The moment the darkness gave way to light, I found myself standing in a place so surreal, so magnificent, that my mind struggled to comprehend it. The air itself shimmered with a golden hue, and the light wasn't just light, it was alive, pulsating and wrapping itself around me like a warm embrace. Colors I had never seen before danced in the distance, shifting and flowing like rivers of fire and water intertwined. I tried to take a step forward, but it felt like I was floating, my feet no longer bound to the ground. That's when I realized I wasn't on Earth anymore. Suddenly, a figure appeared before me. At first, it was just a silhouette against the brilliant radiance, but as it moved closer, I saw him clearly. His presence was both awe-inspiring and deeply comforting. He was tall, clothed in what looked like pure light, his face radiant with a love that was beyond human understanding. "Do not be afraid," the figure said, his voice resonating like music, each word echoing in my soul. "You have been brought here for a reason." I couldn't speak. My mind raced with questions, with fear, with awe. Who was he? Where was I? "You are standing in the realm between life and eternity," he continued, his gaze piercing yet kind. "I am your guide, here to show you the truth." Tears streamed down my face as he reached out a hand to me. The instant his hand touched mine, I felt an overwhelming flood of emotions: peace, love, and a deep sorrow for everything I had left undone. He led me forward, and the scenery began to change. The golden light shifted into a vast expanse, a field of brilliant green that seemed to stretch into eternity. In the distance, I could see figures moving, people, but they seemed different, glowing faintly with a light of their own. "Who are they?" I managed to ask, my voice trembling. "They are souls," he replied gently. "Some are those who have found peace. Others are those who are still seeking it." As we walked, I saw a massive gate appear in the distance, shimmering like it was made of precious gems and fire. It was both beautiful and terrifying. I felt my knees weaken as we approached it. "This is the gate of truth," the guide said. "Beyond it lies the place where all souls are weighed, where choices are revealed, and where eternity is decided." My heart pounded as we neared the gate. Suddenly, I heard voices, not the kind you hear with your ears, but ones that seemed to speak directly into my spirit. They were cries of regret, whispers of joy, and songs of praise all at once. "Why am I here, Kau?" I asked, the question spilling out before I could stop it. "You have been given a glimpse," he said, his tone both serious and compassionate. "What you see here is not your final place, but a warning and a message for you and others." The gate opened slowly, revealing a space that words cannot describe. It wasn't just a place, it was a realm of absolute truth. On one side, there was a radiant light, so pure it felt like love itself, drawing everything toward it. On the other, a deep shadow loomed, consuming all who wandered too far into it. "Every soul must choose," the guide explained. "But choices are not made here. They are made in life. What you see now is the culmination of those choices." I watched as souls approached the light. Some were welcomed in, their faces filled with indescribable joy and relief. Others turned away, their forms consumed by the shadow, their cries echoing through the expanse. "Why are they turning away?" I asked, horrified. "Because they chose to," the guide replied solemnly. "The light requires surrender, humility, and love. Many cannot let go of their pride, their anger, their greed." I felt my own soul trembling. But what about me? What would happen to me? He turned to me, his gaze steady. "That is for you to decide, Lila. You still have life. Your choices, your actions, and your heart will shape your eternity." Tears streamed down my face as the weight of his words settled in. I realized how much I had taken for granted, my family, my friends, even the simplest moments of joy and love. The guide placed a hand on my shoulder. "You have been given this chance to return and share what you have seen. Tell them the truth, Lila. Tell them that eternity is real and that the choices they make today matter more than they can imagine." I nodded, though fear still gripped me. "Will they believe me?" "Some will," he said with a gentle smile. "Others will not. But that is not for you to control. Your task is only to speak the truth." With those words, the realm began to fade. The light grew brighter, and the guide's face became harder to see. I felt myself being pulled back into the darkness, back into my body. The last words I heard before waking up were his. "Live your life with purpose, Lila, and never forget what you have seen." As I stood in the presence of the guide, the scenery began to shift once more. The radiant fields and the gate of truth faded, replaced by a vast, swirling expanse of darkness and light. It was like watching the earth from above. But instead of physical landscapes, I saw the spiritual state of humanity. The guide's voice echoed around me, steady, but filled with urgency. "Lila, what you see now is the condition of the world. It is not meant to instill fear, but to awaken understanding. Before me, I saw cities illuminated by lights, but the lights were dimming, their brilliance fading. These are the hearts of the people," the guide explained. "Once vibrant with faith, they now flicker like candles in the wind, struggling to stay lit. Many have become consumed by distractions, wealth, power, and selfish desires. They no longer hear the voice of their creator." I watched as a great shadow began to creep over the cities, engulfing the light. The shadow was dense, filled with chaos, conflict, hatred, and despair. I saw scenes of wars breaking out, families torn apart, and nations crumbling under greed and division. "Why is this happening?" I asked, my voice trembling. The guide's gaze was somber. "It is the result of choices. Humanity has been given free will, but too many have turned away from the path of righteousness. They chase after what cannot satisfy, leaving their souls vulnerable to darkness." Then the vision shifted again. I saw natural disasters, earthquakes splitting the ground, storms raging across the oceans, and fires consuming forests and cities. People were running in fear, crying out for help, but there was no refuge. The guide spoke with authority, his voice like thunder. These are the consequences of a world that has forgotten its creator. The earth groans under the weight of sin and rebellion. Yet, even in this chaos, there is hope. Suddenly, amidst the darkness, I saw small points of light beginning to shine. They were faint at first, but they grew brighter and more numerous. These lights were people, believers on their knees, praying, worshiping, and calling out to God. Revival will come, the guide said, his tone now filled with hope. But it will not come easily. It will require sacrifice, faith, and unwavering commitment. The light must push back the darkness. He turned to me, his eyes intense. Lila, this is the message you must carry back. Warn them. Tell them that time is short. They must choose whom they will serve, for the days of complacency are over. I nodded, though tears streamed down my face. What can they do? I asked, desperate for answers. Return to their first love, he said. Seek the Creator with all their hearts. Repent of their pride and selfishness. And above all, love one another as they have been commanded. As I watched, the points of light grew stronger and the shadow began to recede. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope could prevail. As the vision unfolded, the guide raised his hand, and the scene shifted once more. I now stood on the edge of what seemed like a great chasm. On one side, I saw multitudes of people walking in a line, seemingly unaware of the danger ahead. They laughed, talked, and carried on as though nothing was wrong. But as they neared the edge, their faces changed. Confusion, fear, and then terror as they stumbled into the abyss below. What is this? I whispered, horrified. This is the path of destruction, the guide replied. Many walk it unknowingly, lulled into complacency by the comforts and lies of the world. They do not see the danger until it is too late. I tried to look away, but the guide held my gaze steady. You must not turn from this. People need to understand the stakes. Their choices matter. Every word, every action, every thought. Tell them to wake up, to see the truth before it is too late. Then the chasm faded, and I saw a different scene. It was a vast, radiant city, filled with indescribable beauty. The streets shimmered like gold, and the air was filled with a melody so pure it brought tears to my eyes. People moved freely, their faces radiant with joy and peace. This is the promise, the guide said, his voice softening. For those who choose the light, this is their eternal reward. No pain, no suffering, only the presence of the Creator and the fullness of joy. I felt a deep yearning to stay there, to join the throngs of people, basking in the light. But the guide turned to me, his expression serious. You cannot remain here, not yet. Your time has not come. But you have been shown these things for a purpose. The scene changed once again. I now saw a great assembly of people from every nation, tribe, and language. They stood together, hands raised, singing in unity. This is the revival, the guide said, his voice filled with hope. It will come in the midst of darkness, a movement of faith and love that will sweep the earth. But it will require courage, sacrifice, and the willingness to stand against the tide. He paused, and his gaze seemed to pierce into my soul. Lila, tell them this. The Creator's love is vast and unending, but it demands a response. There is no middle ground. They must choose light or darkness, life or death. Warn them, encourage them, and remind them that they are not alone. The Creator's hand is always reaching out, even to the furthest soul. I felt the weight of his words pressing on me, a responsibility I wasn't sure I was ready to bear. What if they don't listen? I asked, my voice breaking. That is not for you to determine, he he said gently. Your task is to speak the truth, to shine the light you have been given. The rest is in their hands. As he spoke, I felt myself being drawn back, the scenes fading into a blur of light and shadow. His final words echoed in my mind as I returned to my body. Remember, Lila, time is short, but hope is eternal. Go and tell them what you have seen. With those words, I opened my eyes, gasping for breath. I was back in the world of the living, but nothing would ever be the same. The warnings, the hope, the overwhelming love. It was all etched into my soul. Now, it is my responsibility to share this message with you. When I returned to my body, the weight of what I had seen and heard lingered in my heart. The warnings were urgent, the stakes high, but amidst the darkness, there was a powerful light, hope. It was a hope that transcended all human understanding. Promise that no matter how far someone had wandered, they could still turn back to the Creator. The guide's words echoed in my soul. The darkness is strong, but the light of one faithful heart can pierce it. That message wasn't just for me, it was for everyone. The Creator's love reaches into the deepest shadows, offering redemption to anyone who will accept it. I remembered a moment from my vision, a scene of ordinary people choosing to follow the light. I saw a young man who had been consumed by anger and hatred, kneeling in prayer. His tears flowed freely as he surrendered his burdens, and in that moment, a small light began to shine within him. That light grew stronger as he chose to forgive, to love, and to serve others. I saw a woman who had been lost in despair, her heart hardened by years of pain. She found the courage to open a Bible and pray, even though she felt unworthy. Slowly, her heart softened, and she began to radiate peace and joy that transformed not only her life, but also the lives of those around her. These were ordinary people, people like you and me who decided to take a step toward the Creator. Their choices didn't just change their lives, they became beacons of hope in a world desperate for light. The guide's message was clear. Every choice matters. You don't have to be perfect or have everything figured out, you just need to start. Here are simple, actionable steps you can take to prepare your heart and life for the Creator's call. Prayer doesn't have to be complicated. Start with honesty. Talk to God about your fears, doubts, and hopes. Ask for guidance and strength to take the next step. Holding on to anger or grudges creates a barrier between you and the light. Let go of resentment and choose forgiveness, even when it's hard. Forgiveness frees your soul and opens the door for healing. The Bible is a source of wisdom, comfort, and direction. Begin with small steps. Read a verse or a chapter each day. Let its truths guide your decisions and renew your mind. Even small acts of love and kindness can create ripples of light in the darkness. Help someone in need, offer a kind word, or simply be present for those who are hurting. The most important step is to surrender your heart fully to God. It's not about being perfect, it's about trusting the Creator with your life and choosing to follow His path. I'll be honest, when I first came back, I felt overwhelmed. How could I? Just a 17-year-old girl from a small town carry such a big message. But then I realized that the Creator doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. This journey isn't about being perfect or knowing all the answers. It's about being willing to take one step at a time, trusting that the light will guide the way. I've started with prayer, forgiveness, and small acts of kindness. And I've seen how even the smallest efforts can make a difference. As you listen to this story, I want you to know that it's not just my story. It's an invitation for you. The Creator is reaching out to every soul, calling us to step out of the darkness and into the light. Ask yourself, what choices am I making today? Are they drawing you closer to the light, or are they leading you away? It's never too late to change direction, to turn toward hope and redemption. Imagine what the world could look like if each of us chose to shine our light, if we forgave more, loved more, and prayed more. Imagine a revival that starts with you right where you are, The vision I was given wasn't just a warning, it was a promise. Darkness may seem strong, but it will never overcome the light. The Creator's love is vast, unending, and available to all who seek it. If you feel lost or unworthy, remember this. The light doesn't require perfection. It simply requires a willing heart. Take that first step today. Pray, forgive, and love. Your life, your choices can make an eternal impact, not just for you, but for those around you. As the guide told me, time is short, but hope is eternal. Let that hope fill your heart and inspire you to action. Be the light that pierces the darkness. If this message has touched your heart, take a moment now to pray, to reflect, and to commit to the path of light. And if you're ready, share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Let's spread hope, love, and faith. One step, one prayer, one act of kindness at a time. The journey starts with you.